Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back. This is the first in a new bunch of interviews that I have the very good fortune to be filming here on the channel in the new year 2022. Today, I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Neely Mozawala, who is a podiatrist working in the NHS, but more importantly is spearheading the 24-hour hot food for the NHS campaign, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Hi, Neely. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, thanks for having me, Ollie.
Always welcome. And this, I think, is going to be something different, perhaps for people who've seen these interviews before, because normally I'm talking to people about, I don't know, specialist areas in medicine or their career as health professionals, but we're almost talking about something completely different today.
Yeah,
So, I mean, take it away. 24-hour hot food for the NHS.
yeah. I came up with the idea when my friends and people online were saying that they were hungry during night shifts, and I was just quite shocked because obviously I don't do night shifts as a dietary. And we're in the 21st century and we have people hungry during night shifts looking after our loved ones in hospital. And I thought that was quite shocking. So I decided to make a campaign about it and trying to make the pressure the government to help us in a way. And that's how it started really. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And it's just amazing how supportive everyone's been and offering to give me their spare time really with the campaign.
And it sounds, even hearing you say that, then I don't think people necessarily appreciate how basic, like you say, a thing it is. I mean, the people are always going on about the NHS as a 24-hour service, or it needs to be fit for purpose 24 hours, and it is a 24-hour service. There are some people, like colleagues of mine, I know some nurse practitioners who exclusively do night shifts. They never do days and haven't done days for years, but because of that, they never have a working canteen. They never have, even vending machines or hot drinks or whatever. That there's just none of that. So it definitely would be a huge quality of life improvement, let's say, and especially for those people that we want to be looking after our loved ones. I mean, is there any work or research, I suppose, that you've been looking at about the tangible effects that this might actually have on our workforce?
Yes, so I'm in the process of actually getting some research done to try and marry up break burnout rates
Mm-hmm.
and catering facilities. So someone's kindly decided to do that for me. So we're just in the midst of things.
Mm-hmm.
And really during my research, for example, the independent NHS food review that Prue Leith and Phil Shelley done nationally, that's really interesting because that says that night shift staff and staff working out of hours, they have poor nutrition, and as a result they have likelihood of chronic diseases like diabetes, um, ischemic heart disease, etc. And they have poor health outcomes as a result. And they even recommended that we should have 24/7 hot food available.
Mm.
And the BMA Facilities and Fatigues Charter also recommended that as well. So my aim is not to do recommendations because they don't seem to be working. So I'm actually, they're not working at the moment.
Sure.
So I'm kind of want to take it one step further, and I want to try and legalize it so that we actually have to do it, and no one's and people can't be like, here's a pot noodle as a
Yeah,
as
just
a
hot
because
food.
yeah, exactly, because a few people have reached out to me and being like, oh, my trust's actually giving us pot noodles, and I'm like, what? So it's sad really, but I feel really passionate about this, and I really want things to change because so many people are burning out and leaving the NHS, and we need to be there for one another, and we need to look after people who look after us, because we have this sort of culture in the NHS where we're like, oh, we'll just keep going, even when we don't have proper breaks, even when we have to pay for parking, even when we're, hungry. And, we're not superheroes. There's a limit to everybody. And I've always been the sort of person where well-being and mental health is so important to me. And, well-being should be at the front of everything that we do. And it's nice that COVID has shined a light on it, really. But we need to take it a step further, because I'm quite fed up with how people are being treated at the moment, and that's why I've done this campaign. So hopefully there's some change.
Sure. I mean, I'm just reflecting on that what you said. I mean, I'm working academically at the moment, so my clinical hours are much reduced, but I've been working in surgery for the previous sort of 4 months, and I'm thinking then, well, actually, even in the new year, so I covered New Year's weekend, doing general medicine where I am here, and like you say, there's that pervasive culture of you just keep going and going and going. I mean, on the second day, I remember on the Sunday, it was an absolute bin fire of a shift. I turned up at 9 in the morning or whatever to take handover, and then before I knew it, it was 9 at night, and I was handing over again, like with no concept of a break. I think I had like maybe 4 or 5 mouthfuls of water. Like that's what I had that day, because there's no stop to your jobs list. But certainly I was very lucky. The last trust where I was working, or the last hospital, has an exceptionally good canteen, like hot food facility. And even having a dedicated eating space like that, like a canteen, it helps you compartmentalize your you can actually go somewhere that isn't the ward, if that makes sense. And even beyond the food itself, I think there's such value in having an eating space where it's clear that when you are there, you are eating and you are having a break, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's so important. I did a recent poll actually on that, because that's another thing that I want to make sure that people have an adequate eating space, because it's so important to just go somewhere and switch off, even if it's just for like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the poll actually showed that majority of people don't have a proper eating space. And it's not on, is it? I mean, you wouldn't have that if you're working in the city or in a business area. So, the NHS is one of the largest employers in the world, and the way they're treating their employees, it needs to change.
It does. I mean, what are the steps, from here, where we are, where I mean, we were chatting very briefly before we started recording. How many trusts do you, by your estimation, actually have 24-hour hot food right now?
So 24-hour hot food, if we're just looking at the canteen service, so we're not just looking at cost, at Costa or like overpriced Costa, etc., which is like in the corner of a hospital. So actual canteen food,
like a restaurant or
food. Yes.
Yeah.
So nationally, there is only 3. Yeah.
Right.
It's quite dire, isn't it?
A lot of work to do, Neely.
Well, that's you can tell why I'm not sleeping well at night at the moment.
Oh dear. Presumably, exactly. I mean, that begs a follow-on question, which is if that's just generally, say, a canteen service, I'm thinking about maybe my colleagues who have dietary requirements, maybe people who are halal or who are kosher, or presumably those facilities are going to be even fewer, like out of access to that hot food that would be even something as simple as veggie, going really basic. Like, I guess the idea of 24-hour hot food is that it should be 24-hour hot food for anybody, you know, who might need it, I guess.
Yes, exactly. And the reason why I specify hot food in the word is because hot food is comfort food, and it's usually healthy, nutritious, and fresh. And that's what I am aiming for, is that people have healthy, nutritious, hot food available. I mean, I'm not saying everything needs to be hot on the menu. You can have a choice of cold or hot. But what I'm finding is there are trusts out there that are just giving, you know, like not even giving anything during 24/7, but you know, staff are left to have like a small sandwich during the 3 a.m. shift. I don't know about you, but if I was doing a night shift, a night shift wouldn't fill me up really. So sorry, a sandwich wouldn't fill me up really. So
yeah, it's hard. And I mean, what I used to do, I don't know what other people do, but I always used to get super hungry on night shifts. I don't know what it is particularly about working at night. Maybe it's something to do with disturbance of circadian rhythms or something, but there would always be maybe 2 like peaks of hunger through the night. So I found myself bringing like a carrier bag like full of like meal prepped food.
wow.
Because you're working from, I don't know, like you could be working from 8 p.m. through till 8:30, 9, 10, 10:30 the following morning. And again, depending on whether you sleep on night shifts or not, I personally don't ever sleep on night shifts. It's actually a really long time if you think about, I'm trying to work out the equivalent, like how many meals you would have in a day, in, I don't know, the 12 to 14 hours that you're normally awake. If you would have 3 square meals in that time, you're easily doing a good 12, 13 hours just on that night shift, if that, like while you're still at work. So yeah, it is not having that steady access to food and getting hungry at like 4 a.m. when you feel completely isolated from everything, and you know that there's no way of getting food even if you wanted it at that time. I remember being absolutely devastated on one shift when and we were lucky, I should say, at this trust, because the canteen actually opened from 11:30 p.m. till 1:30 a.m.
Wow.
where you could
really
get
good.
a hot meal at night, and there was actually, you know, a good selection. You could have, there were 2 or 3 like hot meals, and that's enough to be considered amazing, like the fact that it opens for 2 hours overnight. But then it got to 4 or 5 in the morning or something, and you get hungry again, but there was just nothing. There was no vending machine, no just nothing. You couldn't get food anywhere unless you tried to steal it from one of the wards or something, which obviously would not condone. But yeah, I can very easily imagine it having a huge morale impacts. So where do we go? What do we do? What's the plan?
So I've taken the campaign to Parliament. So we're doing an early day motion, which is sort of like a petition for MPs. Because I tried doing a petition myself, and then even before it went live, the government were like, we're going to reject your petition because the NHS isn't a government issue. So I was like, interesting.
Yeah, okay.
So luckily my MP, he's very supportive. His name's John McDonald. So he's doing an EDM, which is like an MP's petition. So only the MPs can sign it. So what I am trying to do is get everyone to urge the MPs to sign this petition. Now, this is on NHS Billion's website, so there's actually a template for you to use, so you can use it as a letter or an email. And it also has another link there to find out how to contact your MP. So really, all the hard work's done for you. It's just like 30 seconds of putting it in an email and sending it off to your MP. We've got 11 signatures so far, and I'm hoping that we can get more signatures.
So is that for us at home, say, you know, yes, those of us who are working in the NHS or who have friends and family working in NHS, or just who think it's a good idea, because it is. Yeah. I'll make sure that the link to that is in the description below this video when it goes live, so you can just open it, click, and go straight there. It's clever, actually. It's really interesting that this is being done at the MP level. It does seem like that actually, you know, like it has a lot more clout behind it.
Yes, I agree. And my MP is lovely. Like, I can just message him whenever I want and he'll reply pretty much straight away. So it's really nice to have that support, really, especially within Parliament. I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
And the other step that I'm doing is trying to do a pilot at Milton Keynes Hospital with Cape Jarman, which is they want to set up a 24/7 service there. So we're going to try setting it up together and see how it works and stuff, and then try and roll that out nationally with our ideas. So I'm actually putting what I say into action, which is which is something that the current government maybe.
Do you fancy a job in Parliament?
I think with one campaign and what I'm going through now, I'd probably say no.
Oh, God. Has it been, I mean, before you answer that, like, just so I don't disturb it with my own preconceived notion, it seems to me, Neely, as a not as an outsider, I mean, someone who works within the NHS and who would stand to benefit from something like this, but it seems to me that, at least at a very superficial level, that asking for 24-hour access to hot nutritious, healthy food, which everyone can agree is basically a good thing, to one of the biggest public employers, let alone in the country, in the world. It's one of the biggest public sector employers that I think exists in the world, is the NHS. Why are you having problems convincing people that this is a good idea?
I think it's because of cost. And I think another reason is different NHS trusts around the country have different priorities at the moment. And I guess in the past, from how we're being treated, I think it's quite a fair point to say well-being is somewhere at the bottom. Yeah. People might agree there. It's difficult. And I think also some may argue that, this has been happening for 60 years and people have been coping. So why do we need to change things? Like, people have been coping with it fine. They're just making a fuss. And
it's a fairly horrendous argument, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That could be another point. So these are the main issues, really. But also, I think it's so complicated. Like, every NHS trust has their own sort of, like, some people have in-house catering, some people have outsourced catering.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Some people have contracts, like 20-year, 10-year contracts with catering services, so you can't get other catering services in. So I'm trying to get smart fridges in as well. Like, I'm working with WH Smith at the moment, and Meals for the NHS, and they both have smart fridges, but they're finding this whole contract war thing inhibiting helping giving access to 24/7 food. I think smart fridges are a great idea, but I'm not saying that they should be the only thing we should have, because then I'm pretty sure every NHS would be like, right, let's put smart fridges where the vending machines are, and that will sort everyone's problem out. And it's actually like, no, I want there to be a canteen service
You'll
Kind
have
of
to
smart.
forgive me for interjecting, Neely, but what? And this is from sort of like, I'm a bit of a tech head.
Yeah.
What is a smart fridge?
So a smart fridge is, they don't like me using this word, but it's the only way I can describe it. It's like a vending machine, but it's not. It's actually a fridge, and it has chilled food. So like you got chilled food from like sushi and bento and wasabi and like all these. So you got like chilled noodles, wraps, curries, and nutritional food. So things that you can actually take out and heat up if you want to, or you can have a wrap if you want it cold or something. So it's actually really, really healthy. And it's none of those vending machines that are like half empty with like crisps and a chocolate bar. So yeah, they're quite good and like quite a new thing. So
So I'm
I'm
sort of
hoping that
imagining like a meal prep type, like a bento
yeah,
box, as you say, right? So it's like
yes,
a
that's it.
pre-made lunch. That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, exactly. And a few people have told me on Twitter that they actually like it, that they actually take it home as well to eat for dinner because yeah, so it's quite a good idea. But yeah, so I thought it'd be nice to have options because I like people to have options. So I want a canteen service, but also like smart fridges or anything that anyone else can bring in. Because people need the options. It can't be like, oh, this is the only thing you can have, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. We'll see. This is my vision. So I'm trying to make it happen and hopefully it happens. So
Fingers crossed. I mean, it's what it seems to me again, as someone who has never really given it that much thought before, you know, until this, and I've seen obviously on, just for reference, anybody watching this, the only interactions that me and Neely have ever had before this has just been random things on Twitter, hasn't it? And
yeah.
I've been seeing this campaign taking off on Twitter, and again, we were talking before about social media and similar things offering a platform and a way of accelerating these ideas, and it does seem to have really taken off in a very short space of time, especially for a grassroots, you know, started by one person, so someone with a vision, and now it's being signed on by MPs. I mean, that's something pretty spectacular.
Yeah, if someone told me like a year ago you'd be a campaigner, I'd be like, but yeah, no, it has. I mean, when I first put the tweet out, I don't know if you remember, Ollie, but there was quite a lot of trolls out there, and Twitter went wild, and they were like, "Go get a sandwich and stop moaning," and all these things, and I just had to ignore it all. Like, there's people telling me I couldn't do it, like it's too complicated. Even like, you know, people actually work for the NHS, like doctors or like, you know, different professions. They were like, "Oh, you won't be able to do that," or "Why can't you be more organized?" And it's like, I just had to just like kind of block everything out and just be like, I'm doing it anyway.
It's honestly, it's one of the, it's a real, I can only speak for doctors here. Like, I don't know what it is like to work as another type of healthcare profession. Well, actually, HCA and doctors, those are the two kind of things that I have worked as in the NHS. And certainly among medics, and it's probably this, or similar among other groups, is this really horrible culture of, when I was your age, I worked 100 hours a week, and my boss did it as well before that. And that was, you know, we had horrible lives, and I never saw my wife or kids or whatever, but now I'm a surgeon and you're going to do it too. There seems to be this idea that, like, suggesting some healthy form of progress, or that, you know, that very rose tinted spectacles view of how things were. I don't know why people react that way whenever someone suggests like a positive change that could only stand to benefit people. You always get people who respond in that way, you know. I walked 10 miles to school on broken feet and I turned out okay. Well,
It's a very toxic and bitter response, I think, and it doesn't help anybody.
no,
And
it's
that's
very
probably
bizarre.
why the culture is the way it is in the NHS, because of responses like that. But I think with innovation and change, it's always going to be difficult. And, I'm not expecting it to be easy. It's not, and so far it hasn't been easy, if I'm honest. But I'm up for the challenge, and I really strongly believe in it. And I think it's really important to have, and the only reason why I've gone so far is because the NHS is like a family,
Mhm.
and having people like yourself, come out and reach out to me, and just give me support. It just keeps me going. And, the support from like people giving me their own time, like I've got a comms agency, Alive with Ideas, and they're actually helping me for free. And I
Wow.
can't believe it. Like these are people who are offering to, write letters for me, do like social media marketing for me, like, and I couldn't do that without people's kindness. And this is what this campaign is driving on: kindness and support. And without them, I would not even be going as far as I have now. And that's all because of them. Like I always put down in my tweets, it's one team, it's one NHS. It's so important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what a note to end on, I think there. I mean, it's like I say, I think it's a really admirable campaign. It's what I really like about it, and why, as you say, I reached out and said, we've got this platform of getting on 40,000 people now who either work in the NHS or want to work in the NHS. It's such a, not in practice, but in theory, it's such a simple thing that would just make so much tangible difference to people's quality of life. And I think as I say, you've shouldered that responsibility basically yourself. So, and thank you for doing that. That's no small feat by itself. Even if, not that this will happen obviously, but even if the whole thing crashed and burned tomorrow and wasn't going to get anywhere, as you say, the fact that you have been willing to stand up and have that vision and say, look, this is a problem, I'm going to shoulder the responsibility of trying to fix it, like, that's something pretty incredible.
Thank you. No, thank you. Like
So,
I say, even if I can make one difference to one or two trusts from this thing and it crashed and burns tomorrow, at least I've made a small difference.
yeah.
So yeah.
So everyone, if you would like to get behind this campaign, getting 24-hour hot food for the NHS, we'll leave the link that Neely described in the description below. You can write to your MP, ask them to sign this thing, and follow the campaign on social media. So you've got a hashtag, I believe.
Yes, it's hashtag 24-hour hot food for the NHS.
Again, we'll pop a link to that in the description below. So whether you're on Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat or TikTok or any of the other ones that I don't use, so I'm too old, we'll just use it wherever you can. And it's a really good message, and you stand to positively benefit the lives of an enormous number of people. So get out there, spread the good word. Thank you, Neely, for everything you're doing, and thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Take care. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.